Hello everyone, and welcome to SUNUP. I'm Lyndall Stout. Today we begin with an update on an ongoing pasture research study that involves limit grazing of cattle. We begin with our extension beef cattle specialist, Dave Lallman.
This project is an endeavor to increase beef production on the same land area and try to investigate systems we can do that here in Oklahoma. And so what we've done is created a experimental treatment where we're using cropland, about 1 acre of cropland per cow-calf pair in a native rangeland production system. The control treatment in this experiment is just all native rangeland. The cows and their calves never come off of that native rangeland year-round.
So this is our limit grazing field that we're in that has wheat in it currently. Talk about what the last few months have been like, what you've done, and how the cattle have performed.
It's been a very good year. This is our third year with this experiment, and so each year we've learned quite a bit, and we've had to adjust kind of on the fly. Of course, you know, farming is very dependent on the weather, and grazing cattle on cropland is the same way. So we've had tremendous wheat production from a forage standpoint. Each year we've been able to increase the stocking rate because we're using the wheat pastures, really the protein and energy supplement for the cows. And the cows, when they're in town, we call it in town, close to Stillwater, on this wheat field, they get prairie hay in the dry lot. So they're turned out 3 times a week, 3 hours each time. And the cows are still performing very well with that little amount of limit grazing.
You've been doing this a few years and you're able to compare year to year as part of your research results. Talk about that.
Yeah, sure. I think the first year we limit grazed at 12 hours a week. The cows in this system weighed about an additional 100 pounds in April compared to those control cows on native rangeland. They just got protein supplement all winter. This year, the cows weigh about 150 pounds more, so it's just an indication that, you know, during that 9 hours each week, they got a tremendous amount of nutrients, protein and energy from the wheat pasture to supplement that prairie hay. The calves, the first year, this time of year weighed about, well, in the 2 years prior, they weighed 80 to 100 pounds more here in April. This year they weigh 130 pounds more. Of course, I don't think I mentioned earlier, each year we've created sort of a creep grazing gate in the dry lot. So the calves have always had access all winter long, free choice access to the wheat pasture. So you'd expect they would do pretty well.
And this was a great growing season, as you mentioned. It
was. I mean, we were able to limit graze cows, free choice graze the calves all winter long at a stocking rate of about about 8/10 of an acre to 1 cow-calf pair. So, and then as you can see in the background back here, we've put up some wheat hay because we had too much wheat forage that was going to go to waste basically if we didn't harvest it. So you've got better animal performance. The 1 acre or 8/10 of an acre of wheat would have to be, of course it's expensive, it would have to be included in the budget for the year, but then we got 150 pounds more cow weight, 130 pounds more calf weight, produce some hay to go into next year's wintering program to reduce our costs there. So it's been a very productive wheat year.
It's wonderful when everything aligns with Mother Nature's plans as well. Let's talk about this pasture. The wheat will be winding down. What are the plans for spring and summer for the project?
We removed the cattle from the wheat here about a week ago, and so there's a little bit of regrowth. We have had a rain here a couple of days ago, and so so it's bouncing back and growing rapidly. We'll come in here with glyphosate and spray this in the next few days so that we leave a little bit of cover over the soil to protect it from sunlight, kind of maintain or hold the soil moisture, and then hopefully the crabgrass that we planted last year to graze during the middle of the summer will start popping up here in the next few days as it warms up. We'll bring the cows and the calves back after they've been weaned. They'll come back from native range and they'll graze this area again for about 40 to 45 days here in the late part of the summer, right before we plant wheat again.
Okay, Dave Wallman, thanks a lot for the update. Terrific research on limit grazing with pastures. We'll see you again soon. Thanks.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Al Sutherland with your Mesonet weather report. From fires last week to rain this week, the rains have been a welcome relief for volunteer and paid firefighters. A map of rainfall from Wednesday evening at 6:05 p.m. for the previous 3 days has a lot of variation across the state. The rain gauge at the Ringling Mesonet site collected 4 23/100 inches of rain. Woodward, on the other end, was the lone Mesonet site without any recorded rainfall. Nearby Freedom had only 1/100th of an inch of rain. Green areas with more than an inch of rain spread out in a broad V-shaped arrowhead with most of the state in blue. Those areas with less than an inch of rain. That pattern of rain shows up in our change in soil moisture at the 10-inch depth. Hobart jumped 7/10 in 1 week, Alta 6/10. The darker brown purple areas lost soil moisture. Pawnee and Ada lost half of their soil moisture at 10 inches over 7 days. Fractional water index goes from dry at 0 to wet at 1. Here's Gary with more on impacts from low rainfall.
We have trouble in northwestern Oklahoma. We've had wildfires, we've had dust storms, we have stressed wheat. So let's take a look at the latest maps and show you just how bad it's gotten. On the drought monitor, you can see we've now increased drought a little bit more across northwestern Oklahoma, especially those areas where there's been wildfires and dust storms and things of that nature. If we go on to look at the percentage of normal rainfall map since the beginning of the year, well, it's pretty easy to see why. We have much of that area in less than 20% of normal rainfall. And if you go a little bit farther out than that, less than 40% of normal rainfall. And that's over 3.5 months worth there, or about 3.5 months. And when it's been as warm as it has been, that is significant. And speaking of warm, you would hope that we would have a green up. Now this is from the Mesonet's OK Fire program. It's the relative greenness map. This is for the week ending April 11th, rather. You can see those orange areas. Those are areas where it hasn't greened up yet. We've had the warmth for a green up. We haven't had the moisture, and that's been the problem. Now the wheat crop shows up nicely. Those green areas up and down southwestern through north central Oklahoma, but those orange areas, that's where we have the wildfire problems. A little bit of rain with all this warmth we've had will turn that green from orange, and that's exactly what we need. Once again, I hope it's raining where you're at while you're watching this, and if it's not, I hope it gets there soon. That's it for this time. We'll see you next time on the Mesonet Weather Report.
'15 was a good year for OQBN numbers. Gant, let's kind of run through them.
Yep, absolutely, Dave. We had another good year for OQBN. We enrolled about 9,000 total head into the program all year long. Of course, the majority of those animals we actually market in the fall at our OQBN sales. And we also had about 160 producers enrolled into the program, about a 40% increase from 2014.
Now, everybody wants to know know about the premiums. Let's run through how those were affected in 2015.
Yep. Of course, everybody knows this fall we are in a negative market, and it was a really hard time this fall. But when you look at it, we actually lost about $500 a head from January 1, 2015 to December 30th, 2015. But when you go back and look at specifically this fall, it was still the second highest, most valuable calf that we've ever sold. So when you actually look at OQBN premiums, we had about $11.50 a hundredweight premium on our OQBN calves compared to a non-weaned calf going through the market the same day. Again, it was the second highest premium we've ever received compared to 2014, which was closer to about $20 a hundredweight for those particular animals.
So how does a value enhancement program like OQBN help soften the impact in a downturn year like that?
Yeah, Dave, like I said, we lost about $500 a head on a 6.5 to 7 weight calf. But when you look at when we wean those calves late September, and then we market those calves on into the fall, if we did nothing, those calves were stagnant, meaning they were not gaining very much of that period of time. We did not vaccinate and did not do many management practices to those calves. That calf actually lost about $250 over that period of time as a whole. But when you compare that to the OQBN calves going through the program that have had 2 rounds of vaccinations, been weaned a minimum of 45 days, and a lot of these calves are weaned closer to 60 days, they only lost about $125 a head. And so when we look at that over all 9,000 head, it was about $1 million savings to the state of Oklahoma this fall, even though we did still lose money on OQBN calves. We saved about $125 a head.
We're still several months away from the weaning dates. Why should a producer still look at a program like this?
Yeah, absolutely. There's a lot of questions like that.
Yeah.
If I'm losing money, why would I continue to do this? We're looking to get back in more of a normal market pattern, and this is the first year since I've been involved with the program, and really the first year since we reinitiated the program in 2009 that we are in this negative pattern. And however, losing money, we actually saved money compared to those cattle, and we have some great data from Eric DeVries that says 80% of the time that we will recoup our money on these value-added programs. And again, it has a lot to do with the facilities the producer has, what the market looks like that day, and other things. But again, we know 80% of the time that we'll make money with these programs, and we truly believe that. And a lot of producers are managing their cattle well and want to identify those cattle that way as well.
Okay, thank you much, Gant Maurer. And for more information on OQBN and other value enhancement programs, go to our website, sunup.okstate.edu.
Late April and May are typical times when spring calving operations across Oklahoma or across the Midwest, when cattle are brought together and calf working is the item of the day. Well, calf working, of course, in most cases involves giving vaccinations or immunizations to those calves, primarily for blackleg. Now, your veterinarian may recommend some other immunizations that are appropriate for your herd in your area. Certainly you want to check with your veterinarian before calf working takes place to make sure that you're using the right products. When we're doing our calf working, whether it's this May or any time, we want to follow beef quality assurance guidelines and just do the right things. Remember that when we're giving those vaccinations, that we want to give them in an area where we're not involving some of the high-price cuts of that beef animal that eventually will be served on somebody's dinner table. Injection sites located, for instance, in the hip or the round, have been shown to cause some real toughness. Even though it may be months, if not a year or so later after the injection was given, that when that particular roast or steak is eaten, still is an undesirable situation. So we want to encourage producers to give those injections in the neck area, where there are very little in terms of human edible products that we're going to influence. As we're giving those injections in the neck area, let's remember the other part of beef quality assurance with injection sites, and that's to use subcutaneous injections when the label on the product allows. Many of the products will give you the choice of either subcutaneous or intramuscular. If they give us the choice, let's choose subcutaneous. And let's remember to use the tinting technique. You remember where you kind of pinch the skin, pull it away from the neck muscles, and then give the injection underneath that skin. In this way, then, we'll greatly reduce any injection site lesions that might occur in those animals. Also, let's keep a good record of what immunizations we gave to which animals. For instance, write down the lot number of the particular vaccination product that you're using, the date that you gave it, who gave it, how it was administered, and if there's some indication on the label that there's a withdrawal time for the product that you're using, then let's write that down as well. If we keep these good records, that gives us some protection that if there's ever an issue eventually later on of one of those violative residues, that we've got some indication that what we did was correct. I think if we'll follow these beef quality assurance guidelines, it'll really be helpful in our herd. And we can learn more about beef quality assurance by going to the SUNUP website. Look under show links. We've got a link there to the Oklahoma Beef Quality Assurance Manual, and it'll give you a lot more information about how to correctly handle these livestock so that we produce a quality, wholesome product for our consumer. Hey, we look forward to visiting with you again next week on SUNUP's Cow-Calf Corner.
It's that time of the show where we catch up with Kim Anderson. And Kim, let's talk about the WASP report that came out.
Well, that WASP report was right along expectations, slightly higher ending stocks, about 10 million bushels for wheat, within 2 million bushels of what the market expected, slightly higher for corn, soybeans, just not much in the reports. I think the big news is before the report, wheat took a big hit. You know, I don't think it was as bad as the market was expecting, even though we pretty much matched their expectations.
You've been out across the state this last week talking with producers and elevator operators. What are they saying?
Well, I went to southwestern Oklahoma. In most of the areas, they're relatively satisfied with what they're seeing in the crop. They talked about scouting the fields, looking at wheat stems or stalks are relatively low, saying that they're not seeing much freeze damage around. They're still apprehensive about that. Of course, you get down in Frederick, Jackson County, and some of those areas, they're still having problems with the crop. You know, they've really been in the barrel for like 6 out of the last 7 years, and this year's is probably better than they've had over the average, but it's still they still need some more wheat.
Now, whenever a crop comes in, it seems like it's always quality or quantity. What would be an ideal situation for the elevators this year? Well,
if you look at the elevators, they need both production and quality. I think farmers right now are relatively happy with what they're seeing, and they need an above average crop. What the elevators need is an above average crop so they can get throughput, but they also need test weight and they need protein. Right now they've got an above average amount of wheat in the bin from the last couple of years. I think the wheat in that bin is below 58 pound test weight for the most part. There's some good test weight out there. I talked to an elevator that's got some 59 and 60s, but they need a good crop this year, both protein and test weight, so they can blend out some of that lower test weight wheat and move it on out into the food market rather than just have to take a beating and sell it in the feed market.
We go back to the price of wheat. You're always talking about there really needs to be a failed crop somewhere across the world. When do you think we'll start to hear those reports of failing wheat crops in hopefully other countries? When should those start popping up?
Well, they're already popping up to a certain degree right now. You got Ukraine, you got Russia, you got Argentina. They're looking at 25% more planted acres because they had some change in their political system and their provisions. But you're between the lines. If you look around the world, Western or Eastern Australia is dry as they go into planting. There's some you see those little underlying problems, and I think that we just need those to kind of turn into a snowball and keep going down. I think we can go back to what's going on here. I think if we can continue to get rain, I know western Oklahoma is probably having some problems. Western Kansas, they're talking about scared our fears of freeze damage. But if we can get a crop here and then we can get that failure, you're going to see the big news happen in probably August, September, and October. That's when you normally get the big price moves. I think we're into April. I think we probably heard about all we're going to hear within reason until we get into that August, September time period.
So here we are mid-April. What is your forecast, and I love to do this to you, what's your forecasted price for, say, mid-June wheat?
Well, if we're looking at harvest wheat Oklahoma, right now you can forward contract wheat in most areas for around $3.85 to $3.90 a bushel. Let's go back to last fall. I was talking $4.50 to $4.75, and maybe as recent as January. It's going to depend on the quality of this crop. If we get a crop that doesn't have protein, that's low test weight, we've seen our basis go from a minus 30 cents to a minus 70 cents, and our forward contract price from a basis from a minus 40 to a minus 70 to a minus 75. That shows the worry in the market. So I've got to get that price down to around 4.25 now, and I still may be a little over optimistic, but I think we could see 4.25 and maybe, just maybe, 4.50.
Okay, there you go. Kim Anderson, Grain Marketing Specialist here at Oklahoma State University.
Finally, today we take you to Pittsburg County to meet the National 4-H Award winner who is giving back to cancer patients. Tucked away in a small room on the 3rd floor at McAllister Regional Health Center is a place that helps cancer patients feel like themselves again. At the TLC Memorial Wig Closet, wigs, turbans, hats, bras, and prosthetics are free to those going through cancer treatments. Pittsburg County 4-H Ambassador Lexi LeBlanc started the Wig Closet with help from her mother Ashley as part of a community service project. The impact has been tremendous.
When the people come in here, their mom says they have sad eyes. They don't really know what to do. And they're not sure what to expect, but they know they're coming here for a wig and they're not really super excited about that. But when they find the perfect wig and they get all of the helpful advice from my mom or the other volunteers, their face changes, and when they leave here, they aren't as sad looking. They're kind of a little bit excited.
In 2009, Lexi was instructed to come up with a 4-H community service project. With the Wig Closet, she could help people just like her mom. Earlier that year, doctors diagnosed Ashley with breast cancer.
I remember Mom saying something about when she went through cancer. She lost her hair, she had a mastectomy, and she said that she didn't even feel like a woman anymore. And at the time, I was like, okay, being dramatic. But when I was writing my Pink Ribbon Luncheon speech, I was thinking about that, and that's traumatizing.
Ashley works at the hospital and says the two came up with the idea for the project after she had a tough time finding a wig.
When I knew I was going to lose my hair because of chemotherapy, I was looking for a hair prosthesis or a wig. Didn't know what to do, didn't know where to go. Had talked to the American Cancer Society liaison in this area, and she sent me to a place in Tulsa that had free wigs. And the experience that Lexi and I had there was not what I needed emotionally and personally.
Since then, the wig closet has been a big hit. People from a number of counties make appointments, and just this week, Lexi received a nationwide Youth in Action Award from the National 4-H Council in Washington, D.C. For Pittsburg County 4-H educator Greg Owen, the award and the success of the wig closet is no surprise.
The number of families that they've helped, the number of people that they've helped, it's a huge impact. And that started from an 11-year-old. And if you stop and think about that for a second, that's really impressive. And she's continued it on. She's going to graduate high school here in a few months, and I know she'll still continue to be a part of it, probably even more so once she graduates, and continue the wig closet for years to come.
Ashley is very proud of her daughter and says the entire experience has touched her heart, especially because of who the TLC Wig Closet is dedicated to.
My mom was diagnosed with breast cancer 15 years before I was diagnosed with breast cancer. And I think that she's in heaven just watching down over us. And I really think that she wouldn't want us to name it after her because she's so humble. But it's very fitting.
Thanks so much for joining us this week. Remember, you can find us anytime on our website, sunup.okstate.edu, and also follow us on YouTube and social media. I'm Lyndall Stout. Remember, Oklahoma Ag starts at sunup.